Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, where your journey to empowerment takes center stage. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, best-selling author and publishing expert. Together, we'll dive into the hearts and minds of visionaries, disruptors, and trailblazing leaders to explore the most compelling and thought-provoking ideas in life, business, and marketing. Let's inspire, impact, and ignite. This is the Tarryn Reeves Show. Today, I'm joined by Karina Schelde, who is an internationally acclaimed workshop leader, teacher, and visionary, best known as the founder of Soul Voice. She is a pioneering therapeutic voice and sound healing modality. With a professional background in bodywork, counseling, breathwork, shamanic healing, and acting, Karina uses the human voice as a transformative instrument of personal growth. Over the past 2 decades, she has touched thousands of lives, teaching Soul Voice in over 25 countries, presenting at global conferences, and appearing on national radio and TV. Karina is also the author of 3 books, including Soul Voice, published in 8 languages, as well as sound healing CDs, instructional DVDs, and an audiobook. Through her practitioner certification and teacher training programs, Karina has trained and certified practitioners and teachers worldwide, cementing her legacy as a powerful leader in the field of voice and sound healing. Karina, welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you. I'm really looking forward to talking all things voice and the power of it to move us as human beings. But before we dive into all that really deep stuff, I would love to hear a bit about your journey. How did you first discover the transformative power of the human voice?
I think when I was a child, I felt very suppressed, actually. And I felt there was much more to my soul essence than hiding by overeating or not fitting in. So it was when I was in my early 20s that I took an actress education in Paris. And before that, I had already worked with singers who wanted to teach me their voice in the traditional way. And I felt there's something else than this traditional way of singing. I could sing, I was even with an opera singer and so forth. But then on these acting schools that were very body, mind, mask oriented, I came in contact with my gut instincts, the power of my chi, the true embodiment from the depths of my being, and my voice completely changed. It started already at that time in my early 20s, which is a couple of years ago, to really be embodied. And also with the voice, I don't like restrictions and too much structure. You have to be like this and this. And in this education that I took, alternative education in the Comedy dell'arte and mask theater, you could use your voice so much more freely if you were really embodied in it, you could say. And that was really fascinating to me. Like, the voice is such a mystery. Where does it come from? How is this a part of our DNA, our cellular memory, or what we express at any time? And I discovered that at a pretty early age, that it needs to be connected to the soul and to the depths of our body in order for us to reach out and really be heard and be listened to. So this was already in my 20s that I experienced that in an alternative acting career.
Wow. So when you say the voice, I'm not sure what to picture in my head. Is it sounding? Is it singing? Is it speaking? Is it all of those things when you talk about the soul voice?
Yeah, it's all of that, because sounding in itself is such a release method, and it's beyond the linear speaking. It's beyond the more structured singing and song and rhythm and so forth. So it means that the same thing when you laugh or when you sigh, it comes from another subconscious depths. The subconscious is also where our emotions and our feelings and our body sensations reside, and there where our real dream time is residing. So that is the sounding that dives into these levels or these layers. So it's way beyond our linear mind, or even singing that can be very much just in the upper part of the body, where sounding, the way I teach sounding and the soul voice method is roller coasting and awakening the whole being on all levels.
Wow. It's so fascinating because sound is something that I think we take for granted. It's just something that we learn to do as babies, and it's just part of our everyday life, like eating or breathing or those sorts of things, until we can't do it, until you get a cold and lose your voice. And then you go, oh, I really wish I could talk or communicate or release even.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do you think that you could give us a little example of something that you might teach your people at a seminar or something, maybe a sound or a song, maybe?
Yeah, I definitely can. I'll do that just in a moment. I just want also the audience to be aware of this, what you just mentioned, Tara, and like the child, because the child and the playfulness and that innocence and that forgotten true voice that we had as a child, where we spontaneously expressed our grief, our laughter, our anger, our joy, whatever was there, and then we played with it, and then it became so authentic in no time. So having that attitude of innocence to your voice and the playfulness, because most people, they say, oh, I don't like what is coming out of you, and I can't do a dissonant sound because it has to sound nice. And that's no. Send your inner judge on holiday so
Yeah.
that you can really just express what is there. And it's
Yeah.
not like it has to sound in a specific way. It sounds, perhaps in some people's ears, it sounds a little bit weird, but it's very powerful because it is coming into all these layers that talked about the instinctive selves and so forth. So having the playfulness with you in it and letting the judge go on holidays so they can just listen also with your inner ears, like listen more in an embodied way if you can. So I'll give an ah sound in the sounding concept of the soul voice work.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. It's also a healing sound, of course.
My goodness. I just want to point out your lung capacity from obviously the note for that long. And breathing is such, I'm a qualified yoga teacher, and breathing is so important to our well-being and our nervous system. And so sounding really ties into that because it expands your lung capacity and your capacity to breathe and exhale and trigger that sympathetic nervous system. And it's across cultures, right? That's why where the sound om comes from, or chanting, or any of these ancient religions or tribes have sound.
Yeah, I'm very inspired by the indigenous people. I believe that we have a core somewhere in ourselves, far away in our ancestral and DNA lineage, that we remember. We are recorded in sound vibration. Our whole nervous system, immune system, everything consists of sound. Every organ, every cellular memory is sound vibration. If we really come deeply in there and listen. So the indigenous
Yeah.
people, they do it
Yeah.
very
Everything is vibrating.
yeah. And the indigenous people, it's natural, it's organic, it's a part of what they grew up with in their DNA. They do it, of course, very raw and primal and spontaneous, you could say. But I must say, my inspiration is a lot from that depths that they are contacting, and also that rawness and that remembrance that I know that we have. So I have created exercises, practices, techniques that fits into the Western world so that we can really bring it in a more, we could say, intuitive and structured form, and so that we can heal ourselves and the world through sound vibration.
Yeah. Amazing. Now, let's talk about Soul Voice because you founded this whole kind of modality. What is it and what inspired you to create?
Well, as they actually said in the very beginning, there's more to the voice than we think there is. I was a body worker, shamanic healer, breath worker, I did a lot of yoga. I really knew about the human resources and anatomy, and you could say need for deep, deep healing. And it was like the body work and the movement and even the breath work and shamanic healing didn't bring me to that core that I was really looking for. So I prayed and prayed to Mother Earth, especially Mother Earth, but also Father Sky. And in my grief and in my own grief and in my own balancing my own inner yin and yang, all this in relationships and finding my own yin and yang balance, I found my own cries, my own calls, my own grief. And I felt there's more to that. If I really listen to my grief, if I listen to my frustration, to my anger, how is this all related to that voice that I originally found as an actress is something very alternative that you can use with your voice. So I started to combine in a way what I knew as an actress and what I knew as a therapist, as a body worker, as a shamanic healer, yoga, breath work, dance therapy. And then through that, you could say I synergized. I learned from thousands of people, students and clients, how to really make these practices doable and effective so that we quickly, but of course, in clients or students' own rhythm and pace, can come to this unraveling the DNA. This what is really our true essence beyond these layers and all of this that we resist and sabotage ourselves with. But it's like with the sound that people have to find themselves. It goes deeper and deeper the more you work with it. And no matter in my classes and my seminars where people are, if they've done a lot of voice work or alternative medicine, they can go to the next level. It's not about how much have you already done of self-development or voice work. It's like you can go to the next edge with yourself. I'm very good at getting people to the edge and then take the free fall, a quantum leap. So they really dare. And so this is about safety, that you can go to traumatic experience, you can go to these subconscious depths, and you can be held in it. And through that shadow and kissing the frog, this enemy inside ourselves that is so ugly, and really give it all what we have, then we arise in this higher consciousness and become really who we really are. But I emphasize we need to dive into the depths of who we are to be a full enlightened being through the emotional body, because it's all the emotions that are repressed or we don't know that brings us into too much control or over control and stress and not organically living.
So soul voice then could be described by the sounds of it as a journey back to yourself, your true
Yes.
self. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, definitely.
Amazing.
Definitely. But really true self, like it's like, wow, you get so surprised. This is really me because they haven't experienced it any other often seminars they've gone to, because like, is this really? It's like the sound, we are sound and light.
Mhm.
So if you know what you're doing, it just continues to vibrate more and more out of you, so you become that organic self. And you listen to yourself in a new way, your tone of voice and who you are, you express your power, you become your raw wild self, or whomever you are, your gentle self, or whomever you are. But it's really also going into communication, because when you know your sounding voice, then you will also start to listen to how you communicate and the tone of voice, which vibrates out of us all the time when we are speaking. And it's the soul, it's connected to our heart, but our soul. So the vibration is what comes across, right? That we are connected to our body, to our heart, to our emotional body.
Yeah. Wow. And you talk about freeing untapped power of your voice.
Yeah.
What does that mean when you free the untapped power of your voice? And what does it mean for personal growth, especially? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think I would refer back to that inner child that I just talked about, because the untapped power, we had a lot of that in our remembrance as a child, because the freedom that some of us eventually experienced like a child was that you can easily and you can freely play with your voice. You can express yourself like, really being an expressive being. I believe that in many cultures and many cultures in the Western world, we are very repressed in our power. We give our power back to authorities, those who knows more, where it's about finding our own power. That means our own expression, our own wisdom, our own intelligence that everybody has if they get stimulated and inspired, and if first and foremost they get listened to. Our ears needs to be inner ears and not just outer ears here, but we listen with our senses, with our feelings, with our whole body, so that the power can come back. Because I believe that true communication is also related to that we can listen within to ourselves. So we really know what it is we have to say, and we can give the power back to the one who is sharing. That's the true power of expression in whatever kind of expression we are dealing with.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to express in your world, whatever your job is.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so
Mm.
important for so many aspects of our lives, boundaries, relationships
Yeah.
with self and others, and your environment as well. Being able to express what you need, what you want, what you like, what you don't like, who you are is such a integral part of being human. To
Yeah.
begin to use their voice as a tool for healing and creative expression, but they're kind of self-conscious or they're unsure, where would you advise that they start? What are some practical things that you can give us to start?
I think the breath is extremely important to first really become aware of the full, deeper breathing. When we really breathe deeply, our lower abdominal muscles are also engaged. Of course, our upper abdominal and the whole spine can be engaged as well. But just to breathe deeply, it can be quite a challenge for many people because they block themselves either in the heart or solar plexus or other places in the body. But the more the breathing can be opened and you can trust your breathing, the more the resonant chamber is the resonance of the sonic vibration that we work with can come into your body. So you can become that vibrational energy. So once you train that sort of the full deep breathing and you simply do that sound that I just demonstrated in your own way of doing it, but open full mouth, which for many people is sort of just doing like this this is revealing what would come out if I open my mouth fully and just start to sound. But I can guarantee that most likely you will start to feel after 3, 4 minutes vibration out to your hands or fingertips that you may not have experienced before, down to your legs. Take a good grounded position to really feel like, wow, it's resonating. I can feel I am the sound vibration. It's going and it's starting already to more flow freely eventually there where you have the blocks. And then the next step is then to go in eventually to an area where you feel like I feel a little bit repressed in my heart. Give it some sound, and even just the sound where the most important is our intention. What do you go in with? Like if you go in with trusting that you can really open more up your heart if this is what you want with your sounding, then having faith in the intention will help the sound to just smooth and melt and go in there gently and slowly, of course.
Mm.
It's simple in a way, but of course, the further you go, you need to know the exercises and the techniques.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, the voice could be considered a physical thing, and the vibrations could be considered a physical thing, but you keep talking emotional body, if you like. And why do you believe that the working with the emotional body is such an important, critical part of healing and transformation?
I believe that we are very strong in our physical presence, doers, manifestors. We are very smart in our intellect, in technology, and so forth. The stress, the imbalance of Mother Earth and the feminine suffering is that we have bypassed too much the heart and the emotional body. We don't have time to feel, to really feel what we're doing, to slow down and really feel it and really open more up to that huge capacity of living more fully, as some cultures are doing, and others are very fast forward and live more stressful life instead of really living the light, the joie de vivre, the joy of just living all the time. So to ralentir, meaning slow down the stress, to feel the feeling and feel your body and feel your heart more in daily life will help the stress to release. And when the stress that often are in the neck and in the upper part of the body, it could also be in the lower back, lower back pain is also stress, there's many things that are stress related. Then you start to more align yourself at any given moment so you can listen to what your higher intuition, your higher self. This comes from our soul, and of course, our soul is connected to our heart and to our feelings. Else we become robot and autopilots. And that's what we want to come away from, I believe.
Definitely. So we talked about the physical body and the emotional body. Let's talk energy, because you are a shamanic healer.
Yeah.
How does primordial energy come into play in your work? What role does it have in freeing this creative and emotional expression, getting in touch with these really ancient primordial essences?
Yeah. Well, when we talk about primordial energy, it's very connected to our instinctive self and that part of ourselves that is more reptilian that we often bypass because we're stressed or we're over controlling it or we don't want to go there. We think as a spiritual being, I can't be really raw, wild, and instinctive. But as it is already scientifically proven by, for example, Peter Levine, the traumas that we carry can be released very effectively if we are in contact with our instinctive self. The body sensation, we don't necessarily need to feel all our feelings, but we need to sense our body sensations and our instincts and see what our body really needs to release. You could say beyond the emotions if it's too difficult to feel an emotion of a trauma and it's not always needed either. It's like we need to dive the whole way down so that that energy we come in contact with are related to our neocortex and our higher consciousness, like the upper part of our brain, so that we can really again be realigned. But it's not like boosting the emotional body. We go through it, but we need to dive deeper into the primal instinctive self to feel our bones, to feel our sensuality, to feel our sexuality in a more deep way and connected to our higher consciousness. So that, and also with the sound work, it's important to understand that the wisdom and the higher consciousness, and this is what we also call the inner voice, comes from doing the sound work. You cannot like figure it out first. It's like the more I let go of control, the more the sound can really direct me. And I believe we are really longing to come in contact with that more deep, raw, wild nature. We are longing to come in contact with our sense of self so that we are really embodied in it. And this uncontrollable energy also, which of course in workshops and seminars and in sessions is controlled because the facilitator is there and you can learn how to really go to some extremes and take the free fall and go where you have never gone before.
Wow. You also talk about something called spiritual resonance.
Yes.
What is that for layman's terms, for somebody who may not be in that deep spiritual arena? And how can someone discover the unique healing abilities and intuitive knowingness of their voice through that spiritual resonance?
I think everybody is spiritual, so it's something we are talking about, that we all have a soul essence. It's just part of our spirituality. We all connected. We're connected to something that is higher. We know that. Either we call it Mother Earth or we call it God. It has so many names. So it's simply a sense of I am connected to a force or a vibration that goes through me. I believe we are a cosmic symphony from within, but we need to train how to listen to the vibration that is in your heart, that is in your bones, that is in your organs. That's what we consist of. That is a step-by-step training. But for a beginner, it's related to what I talked about before. You may start with just singing a gentle song or sounding to your heart, and there you have a soul resonance or spiritual resonance, like some were sounding their children to sleep through lullabies. That is a healing song or a healing sound that will help you to feel that you are connected. You have the sound that goes inside yourself, but it's also resonating outside yourself. So the resonance is that you are spiritual resonance or soul resonance is that you are connected. You're connected to yourself and something outside ourselves. We are never alone. We are always connected. And the more we can open up to all these layers and release the layers that we are consisting of, and especially those that are repressed and blocked as well, the more the spiritual resonance or the soul resonance can come through you, and you can become a fully resonant being, crystal clear being through resonance. But step by step, everybody has their own rhythm to come in, but it starts with something very easy, gentle, and listen to your own voice and be surprised. Wow, I've never thought this could come out of me if I just intentionally, freely let it come out, not judging what wants to come out. And again, it needs guidance because it's you cannot just freely just do anything. It needs exercises and guidance.
Yeah. Now, you've worked with thousands of people worldwide. What are some of the most profound transformations that you've witnessed through voice healing?
It can really be anything because it depends on what people are coming with. It's not only healing physical ailments like chronic headache or chronic lower back pain or you name it, kidney stones, whatever people they have, heart condition, kidney conditions. It depends on what you come into seminars with because people can heal themselves from physical ailments, whatever it is, cancer, or whatever it is. But I believe that pretty much all our ailments or our issues are emotional related. So the deeper people can go in their emotional body, the more they can heal all these sub layers and also the ailments and the blockages you didn't know that you had. Because I believe that we only get our pains and blockages up as we are ready to get them healed. And some people get it through illnesses. So this is prevention. I work a lot with preventing that we get ill and we get blocked and so forth. So people can be quite healthy already, but then when you start to work with the sound, whoa, I feel like I have a lot of blockages. I'm not in contact with my heart, my feelings, my really higher intelligence or my higher emotions. So it is over time, it is not necessarily difficult with sound healing to heal a chronic headache, depending on, of course, how many years it has been there. But it is to then follow up, how do I change my lifestyle so that this chronic headache is not coming back in 2 years? It's like really working about sustainability. This what you now discover and listen to. You need to change your lifestyle. So it's not about healing necessarily only the block. It's about changing the life when you know how to listen to yourself and what you now need to do to change so that you can stay healthy. Your being.
Now, what's next for you in Soul Voice?
Well, what's next at the moment, because we have a international community, I have educated about 300 practitioners and teachers worldwide, and about 100 of them are practicing at this present moment. And there's a scientific researcher, Sophia Serra from Portugal, who is also an opera singer and voice teacher, who is now a soul voice practitioner. And we are a group of teachers in the soul voice with she, and we are having some pilot projects and some funding to scientifically research the soul voice methods. So in a year or two, come some articles, and it will be more hopefully coming into schools, because we want to also tap into school systems and to youngsters how to start to educate them in the importance of working with their voice and sound healing.
Amazing. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
And you're going to be in Australia soon, I believe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in March. Actually, the first workshop is in Melbourne, the 22nd and 23rd of February, but else there's workshops in March in Sydney and in Brisbane, and also a longer workshop.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Well, it's been a pleasure to learn about the voice today. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us and the healing power of the voice. It's always good to remember to tap into something that's readily available to most of us. Now, we have a tradition on this podcast, Karina, called the book drop. And we want to know what book has impacted you either personally or professionally.
Yeah, Life Visioning from Michael Beckwith is a very powerful book. But there are many books, but that I would like to say he's an amazing, not only author, but leader.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. For those of you who want to connect with Karina, her contact details are in the show notes of this episode. Karina, thank you so much. That's a wrap on today's episode. If you love the insights and inspiration, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe to stay connected and turn your visions into reality alongside our community of changemakers. I'm Tarryn Reeves. Thank you for joining me. And remember, your story has power. See you in the next episode.